everyone. I'm here to introduce Latin American literature. So, Latin American literature refers to written and oral works created by authors in parts of North America, South America, and Caribbean. Latin American authors usually write in Spanish, Portuguese, English, or a language native to their specific country. Since 1940, when Latin American literature has become an important reference in universal literature. Nowadays, it continues to grow thanks to its various movements such as realism, anti-novel, and magical realism. Literature is an important part of Hispanic culture. Therefore, it is important to remember great figures of literature who, with their creativity and originality in their writings, have achieved worldwide recognition and admiration. Here are some of the big names that have revolutionized Latin American literature. Number 1 is Gabriel Garcia Marquez, a Colombian journalist and writer, winner of Nobel Prize in Literature in 1982 and considered one of the most important writers in Latin America. He was the author of great works recognized worldwide, among which are Cien Años de Soledad, or the 100 Years of Solitude. Also, the El Amor en los Tiempos de Cólera, Love in Times of Cholera. Next is Pablo Neruda, Chilean writer who was considered the greatest of the 20th century in all languages. He was the winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1971 and was awarded Dr. Honoris Causa by the University of Oxford. Neruda has many books that are considered as world representative of such as Veinte Poemas de Amor y una Canción Desesperada, or the 20 Love Poems and a Song of Despair, and the Y Cien Sonetos de Amor, or the 100 Love Sonnets. Latin American writers gave birth to new genres, successful works, and recognition in the field of art. Their contribution portrayed the cultural richness of Latin America and will be remembered by the generations to come. NHCOA, or the National Hispanic Council of Aging, continuing the commemoration of Hispanic Heritage Month. It remembers and celebrates not only that these great Hispanic figures have made to the field of literature, but also the legacy they have left to everyone in the world.
Oh, Tiff! I didn't know Latin American literature was that astonishing. But first, good day everyone. We're the Group 4, and as you've all heard from Tiffany, we're going to talk about the Latin American literature. But first, to further know about the topic, let's call on the others, shall we? Pia?
Sorry, I think we should start from the writers down to the works. Right, Rhea?
We should also include some films that evoke emotions and made the audience gasp for more.
Very well then. Who should start? Marianne?
I'm going to go first. The author that I pick is Pablo Neruda. Was named Neftali Ricardo Reyes Cosalto at his birth in 1904. He signed his work Pablo Neruda, although he did not legally adopt that name until 1946 because his father, a railroad worker, disapproved of his son's poetic interest. Neruda grew up in southern Chile and in 1921 moved to Santiago and enrolled in college with the intention of preparing himself for a career as an instructor of French. He left college soon after, however, to devote more time to poetry, which had already become a central interest. His first book, Twilight Book, was published in 1923, and the following year he published 20 love poems and a song of despair. This became his most popular work, more than 1.5 million copies of which were published in Spanish alone before his death.
Nice one, Marian, but let's not forget Alejo Carpentier. A full Alejo Carpentier by Valmont, born December 26, 1904. Now since Switzerland, died April 24, 1980. Paris, France, a leading Latin American literary figure considered one of the best novelists of the 20th century. He was also a musicologist, an essayist, and a playwright. Among the first practitioners of the style known as magic realism, he exerted a decisive influence on the work of younger Latin American writers such as Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Alejo Carpentier is a commanding figure in Latin American literature and intellectual life. A novelist, literary theorist, musician and musicologist, journalist, publicist, and writer-producer. After a brief association with the Surrealist movement in Paris, he developed his own concept of the real maravilloso, the marvelous real, a forerunner to the magical realist genre, popular in Latin American fiction. Carpentier lived outside his homeland for many years, and his expatriate experience supplied the stimulus for his novels, which portrays the encounter of European culture with the mysterious primitivism of the untouched New World.
Bro, that's a great find. Mine is George Francisco Isidoro Luis Borges. Acevedo, usually referred to as George Luis Borges, was an Argentine writer and poet born in Buenos Aires in 1940. His family moved to Switzerland, where he attended school and traveled to Spain. 1921. Borges began an early literary journal. He also worked as a librarian and public lecturer. Borges was fluent in several languages. He was a target of political persecution during the Peron regime and supported the military warfare that overthrew. Due to a hereditary condition, Borges became blind in 1955. He was appointed director of the National Public Library and a professor of literature at the University of Buenos Aires in 1961.
Those are very informative. With you guys, now I feel it's the right time to convey the works of some writers.
That's true, Pia. This work of The Motorcycle Diaries is a memoir of Marxist revolutionary Ernesto Che Guevara. It traces his early troubles as a 23-year-old medical student with his friend Alberto Granado, a 29-year-old biochemist living Buenos Aires, Argentina in January 1952 on the back of Super-Touring Singles Cylinder 1939 Norton 500cc Double Poderosa, the mighty one. They desired to explore the South America they only knew from books. During the formative odyssey, Guevara is transformed by witnessing the social injustice of exploited mine workers, persecuted communists, ostracized lepers, and the tattered descendants of the one great Inca civilization. By journey end, they had traveled for a symbolic 9 months by motorcycle, steamship, raft, horse, bus, and hitchhiking, covering more than 8,000 kilometers, 5,000 miles, across places such as Andes and Atacama Desert and the Amazon River Basin. The book has been described as a classic coming-of-age story, a voyage of adventure and self-discovery that is both political and personal. Originally marked by Verso as Das Kapital meet Easy Ride, the The Motorcycle Diaries has been a New York Times bestseller several times.
Everyone, do you feel like in some weird way writers are like gods of their own stories? Create and manifest humanity all wrapped up in words.
That's true. It kind of reminds me of 100 Years of Solitude by Colombian author Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It is a landmark 1967 novel that tells the multi-generational story of the Buendia family, whose patriarch, Jose Arcadio Buendia, founded the fictitious town of Mahondo. The novel is often cited as one of the supreme achievements in literature. The magical realism style and the thematic substance of 100 Years of Solitude establish it as an important representative novel of the literary Latin American boom of 1960s and 1970s, which was stylistically influenced by modernism, European and North American, and the vanguardia literary movement. Since it was first published in May 1967 in Buenos Aires by Editorial Sudamericana, 100 Years of Solitude has been translated into 46 languages and sold more than 50 million copies. The novel, considered Gabriel Garcia Marquez's magnum opus, remains widely acclaimed and is recognized as one of the most significant works both in the Hispanic literary canon and world literature.
Whoa, that's a very popular work. Mine is The Time of the Hero. The Time of the Hero is a novel made by George Mario Pedro Vargas Llosa, or known as Mario Vargas Llosa, in 1963. The original title of the novel is La Ciudad y los Perros, or The City Novel, The Dogs. The novel describes adolescents in the Peruvian military school that is striving to survive in a hostile and violent environment. The corruption of the military school suggests a larger uneasiness afflicting Peru. The novel had a complex structure with a non-linear chronology and a multiple narrative voices. Then, following its publication, the Peruvian military incinerated hundreds of copies of the book in the official ceremony. The novel concerns the theft of an examination paper by the cadet Kappa. This act was carried out under orders from Jaguar, the brutal top cadet. The theft is reported by a lowly cadet whom Jaguar consequently murders during military maneuvers. Concerned for the school's reputation, the administrator chose to ignore further evidence of Jaguar's guilt.
I guess it's my turn. The Hopscotch by Julio Cortázar. Horacio Oliveira is an Argentinian writer who lives in Paris with his mistress, La Maga, surrounded by a loose-knit circle of bohemian friends who call themselves the Club. A child's death and La Maga's disappearance put an end to his life of empty pleasures and intellectual acrobatics, and prompt Oliveira to return to Buenos Aires, where he works by turns as a salesman, a keeper of a circus cat which can truly count, and an attendant in an insane asylum. Hopscotch is the dazzling, freewheeling account of Oliveira's astonishing adventures. The book is highly influenced by Henry Miller's reckless and relentless search for truth in post-decadent Paris at dissects Teitaro Suzuki's modal teachings on Zen Buddhism. Cortázar's employment of interior monologue, punning, slang, and his use of different language is reminiscent of modernist writers like Joyce, although his main influences were surrealism and the French New Novel, as well as the riffing aesthetic of jazz and new wave cinema. In 1966, Gregory Rabassa won the first National Book Award to recognize the work of a translator for his English language edition of Hopscotch. Again, Hopscotch is a stream of consciousness novel which can be read according to two different sequences of chapters.
That's one amazing text, but do you know, the title The Power and the Glory is a 1940 novel by British author Graham Greene. The title is an allusion to the doxology often recited at the end of the Lord's Prayer. 14th, in the kingdom, the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. It was initially published in the United States under the title The Labyrinthine Ways. Green's novel tells the story of a renegade Roman Catholic whiskey priest, a term coined by Green, living in the Mexican state of the Tabasco in the 1930s, a time when the Mexican government was attempting to suppress the Catholic Church. That suppression had resulted in the Cristero War, 1927 to 1929, so named for its Catholic combatants slogan, Viva Cristo Rey, long live Christ the King.
A round of applause for everyone. You all did your research, huh? But now is the time to deviate in films. Have you watched La Nana the Maid 2009? Catalina Saavedra's devastating performance would be reason enough to see The Maid. But Sebastian Silva's empathetic direction and finely tuned script only add to the movie's pleasing heft. Raquel Catalina Saavedra has been the live-in maid for the Valdez family for over 2 decades, coming to regard them with the utmost loyalty and respect. But when Raquel starts suffering from disease spells due to overexposures to cleaning chemicals, Mrs. Valdez, Claudia Celedon, hires additional help to take the pressure off her. Desperate to retain her job and resentful towards the new help, Raquel launches an all-out assault on each new employee who walks through the Valdez family's doors.
Well, that sounds interesting. The hidden gem that I found is the movie Silent Light. Its original title is Lucille and Casa. Silent Light was premiered in 2007. It is directed by the Mexican art house Maverick Carlos Regades. Lucille and Kiosa, or Silent Light, is the slow and reflective journey of a married man who falls in love with another woman in a Mennonite community. And it is told with beautiful, evoking images and passionate acting. It won the jury prize in the Cannes Film Festival and was featured in several top 10 lists in 2007. Mennonite is a member of Protestant church that arose out of the Anabaptist radical reform movement of the 16th century Reformation. In the movie Silent Light, the director used a real Mennonite instead of an actor to play.
Now I've got tons to watch now. Serena, are you still there?
Now, I've got tons to watch now. Serena, are you still there?
You shouldn't be sleeping in our meeting, sorry.
Hello? Like this? Guys, I wasn't sleeping. I was just stunned by how we kind of failed to see how great our other literatures can be.
Careful to tell us why.
I'll just show you a clip from a TED Talk discussing magical realism.
Oh, there's so much to uncover.
I couldn't agree more, Pia.
I think I have a short-long moment. I think that our literature, Filipino literature, is parallel to the Latin American literature. It started off being oppressed by the Spaniards and writing down how they've exploited our beings. Then comes the resistance literature and modernismo. Resistance literature was important because it aimed to define what the identity of a Latin American person looked like, both on an individual and national level. Modernismo meant writing poetry of uncompromising aesthetic beauty and discarding the sentimentality and the rhetoric of Romanticism, which in Spanish had not yet yielded great poetic works. Then, transitioning to the modern essays, in which many cases, the issue was how to incorporate marginal cultures like the African and Indian within the Latin American literature to the mainstream culture of the era and of each individual country.
It's just fascinating to see how it all plays out in the end, right?
Don't forget its impact to the society and the world.
True. The world is truly vast, and as we as learners have so much to see and discover.
That's correct. And that's it, folks. We are Group 4 and we hope you tickle your minds into discovering Latin American literature. Till next time!